Wow, I was really impressed with this chapter. Out of everything I've seen, this pretty much takes the cake. No lie, this takes the cake. This is Sullivan Anarchy of Naruto, chapter 670, the beginning. It wakes up with Naruto waking up in like this convoluted world. He's on the edge of life and death, and right now his consciousness is floating in like this interdimensional space in his mind. And basically, he's on the edge, and he thinks that he's died. As he even says, "Am I dead?" Then and someone says you're so reluctant to see you're dead. Your mind must be more clear than you thought. It's not exactly like that, but it sounds something like that. And he still asks who says it, who's there, and who says it, and guess who it is? He who started it all, the ancestor of all shinobi, the sage of six paths himself, Oromoraga. I'm like, wow, this was a surprise. I can't believe the ancestor who started everything, is here. I'm like, wow, this is an interesting storyline. It starts, but after that, after their meeting, now they try to talk. The sage of six paths, he's full of wisdom. He's old, and he tries to speak to Naruto, but Naruto, he's reluctant to understand who this guy is. He doesn't know who the hell he's speaking to. Even though, no, everybody should know who he is. But think about it, he died centuries ago, so no one knows what his real face looked like. It starts, they try to talk, how he tried to do in as simple as he can, and trying to be wise. But Naruto, he doesn't understand what he's saying. But he notices that there's something about this man that's different. He notices the Renegon in his eyes, so he knows what he is. He knows that he has the Renegon, but he doesn't know exactly what this guy is. He still doesn't know. In fact, he even calls him an alien. I'm like, really? Why the hell do you think this old man's an alien? Although, sometimes I think they make him dumb on purpose just to make everyone else look better. He may be a guy that wants to fight with his fist, but his brain, nah. And I'm like, but the sage is back on Meragi. He tries to talk to him in the simplest way, even dumbing down his conversations a little. But Naruto, I swear to God, when it comes to Naruto and trying to talk to people, he's so reluctant. And even giving him weird nicknames, old man or something like. But despite the reluctance, the sage of his past does tell him who he is, and he does tell him what he is, and even though it took a little condescending, and Naruto knows that he's the sage of six paths, Omuragi, who started it all, or basically the ancestor of all shinobi, okay? And he even has to ask him, if you're here, then you do know the way out. Omuragi's trying not to say that you can't ask me too many questions at once. He tries to tell Naruto certain things. He even tries to tell him the past of what happened long ago. First, he starts off with his mother, Kuroganari. You know who his mother is. She's the one who ate the forbidden fruit of the God tree. Who gained chakra energy. Who virtually started it all. Apparently, after that, she gained enormous power. She became a goddess, and a demon, apparently to the people who both worshipped and feared her at the same time. But later she had two children who had the same fate. I can't believe it. Yeah. And one of the children was the sage of six paths, and he also explains that years later to repent for their mother's sins. Hence, they fought against the great incarnation of the God tree, the Jubi, and they fought him and sealed it within themselves. Even though it doesn't explain what happened to the sage of six paths brother. I mean, I never knew what happened to him. In fact, this is the first time I'm hearing of it. Did his brother die after the battle? I have no idea. But knowing Kishimoto, he's just keeping us on the edge and on our toes. After that, he explains that he too had children of his own. That he had two children, and one of them was Kendo, the other one was Ashura. And he explained that Kendo had the power, inherited his power at birth he was considered a genius, yes, and a powerful figure at his early age. He was the ancestor of the Uchiha clan, and then there's Ashura, the no good. That's that. I'm not seeing this for myself. That's what Heizuka Moragi is calling his son, the no good, because unlike his brother, he didn't gain his power at birth. You see his brother Hunter Kendo. You see the older brother. You see, because of his extraordinary power, he did everything on his own. He basically didn't need help. He was a genius. He basically did everything by his own self. He didn't have anyone's help. While the younger brother didn't gain his power at birth at all. He worked hard and trained with people, and wasn't very good at anything until he met people, cooperated with them, and was a good person until he gained the power of his brother later through cooperation and help. That part kind of makes sense, because remember, the Sage of Six Paths chose him, the younger brother, as his successor, because he thought love would lead to peace, instead of the older brother who thought power and violence would lead to peace, because the older brother was like that. But then, and eventually after that, he made his successor. He split up the Jubi that was inside him into its 9 parts and gave them names, the tailed beast, because he thought that the tailed beast would one day cooperate with people, and would lead to a new future. However, because of his decision and his regardlessness, because of his decision, the older brother declared war on the younger brother, and that was the start of the long war. It also became apparent that even though their bodies died long ago, both the brothers' chakra didn't disappear. They transmigrated over the eons, over the centuries, ever since that Fibebe, to their descendants, the Uchiha and the Senju. He says that the brothers, that the younger brother Ashura, his power relies within Naruto. Basically, he is the incarnation of the younger brother, and that's how this chapter ends. I really like this chapter because it shows that you get to see the Sage of Six Paths for the first time, really. Although we get to see him within the 500 chapters when Naruto finally gained the power of the Jubi and was fighting Hito/Madara Tobi, who was in his mask and using the other tail beast against him. But we only got to see him in that flashback, but we didn't got to see his face indirectly. We only got to see like half of his face. Like we got to see his back, the staff, his hair, the beard, but you didn't get to see his eyes or nothing. But you get the point. I'm glad that we got to at least see some Sage of Six Paths even more before the story ended, because Hondo said he was going to end the story, and this was I couldn't argue with this. At least you got to see who was at the beginning when all of this started. I also got the feeling that this is going to be opening a whole new doorway, because you know that the Sage of Six Paths had 2 sons. You already know that. The Uchiha, and they were the ancestors of the Uchiha and the Senju. And Naruto is basically the reincarnation of the younger son, Ashura. But Naruto is a member of the Senju clan. Not technically, but he's from a bloodline of the Senju clan. You see, the Uzumaki and the Senju are distant blood relatives. And so in a way, they share a convoluted bloodline. As the Uchiha, they've always shared a direct bloodline, and since their ancestor Kendo is the son of the Sage of Six Paths. So in a way, they are direct descendants, while Naruto is an indirect, even though he has some of them shares some of their DNA. It's not complete, but some. You know that. If Naruto is the reincarnation of Ashura, does that mean that Madara is the reincarnation of Kendo? Because we also got to see in the chapter, you see these 2 figures fighting and using their full powers, and those are the brothers. And you get to see one side, which is Madara looks like Madara's perfect Susanoo, his ultimate form. But that's obviously See, the older brother, and the other one looks like the younger brother, but he looks like the nine-tailed fox gold form, and he has 4 hands, and it's incredible. If that's the way it is, then this fight is truly has a lot more deeper meaning. I know this is just Kishimoto just stretching it in, that he promised that he would end Naruto in 2014, there will not be an Arc 3, that this would be the end of Naruto this year, but I have no argument against this chapter. At least we're getting some convoluted, even though this is a little bit filler to me, and so most of the stuff we know, but most of the stuff we don't know. At least we're getting a headway. But knowing Kishimoto, he's just keeping us on our toes for something even more epic. And I like that Kishimoto is bringing back characters that we thought we wouldn't see ever. Like, for example, Spike Zetsu, Kabuto, the Sage of Six Paths, Omogurari. Like, wow. And this chapter was pretty nice. I'll put the link in the description. I give this a 5 out of 5 because we get to see the man who started everything, who basically set the wheel into motion, and I have no objections to this. I just hope that when the story continues, it really gets to a good point. Right? And I have no arguments against this. Hope you enjoyed this one. In the summer, I'm giving you a laser review of Naruto chapter 670, the beginning. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Comment and subscribe. Signing off.